Hey guys, welcome back to the Global Conscious Project podcast. My name is Nicola and I am your host. Today I want to have a very good chat with you about emotions. It's 2021, so we really need to get comfortable with having emotions. I have just spent a weekend with my parents, and something that I've known for a long time is that people who grew up in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and even the 90s, they were taught that having emotions made you weak, which is bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. So I wanted to just chat about that because I think that it's so important that we really start to acknowledge that everyone has emotions, and if you're not expressing them and if you're not using them to your advantage, you're really missing out. And I think that the idea that we have to control ourselves and control our emotions is so old school. I think it's really important to be able to dive in deep to what you're feeling in response to what, and kind of figure out like what it is that is making you emotional and what it is that is making you happy and what it is that is making you not happy, and allowing those emotions to come out of you rather than controlling yourself and staying, in control of being this, showing up in the world in this way that society has dictated to us. And I think that is just absolute crap, because literally everyone is experiencing emotion all of the time. Like, it's just part of being human. And if you're making other people feel like they can't express their emotion, or if you feel like you can't express emotion, then you're basically just saying to them, oh, you're not worthy of being human, or you're not a real human, or you're less than. And I just think that it's so dumb. Like, it's just dumb. I think emotions are, as I said, part of the human experience, and it's really powerful when you can tap into them and use them to further yourself forward, to express yourself more freely, to allow the energy flow within your body to come out and to flow more freely rather than being stuck and stagnant, and which in turn, of course, causes all kinds of physical ailments, emotional, spiritual, mental blockages, and all of those kind of represent themselves in the body in different ways. And I think that when we can become one with our emotions, not that our emotions should ever take us to the point where we can't get out of whatever emotional funk we're in. Like, there is definitely a point where you have to say, okay, I'm in control of this now and I'm allowed to get myself out of this. But I think that's only when you've been in a really deep funk for a long time and potentially it's impacting the rest of your life. I think emotions, of course, are going to impact your life, but I think that it doesn't have to be something that is taboo in society. Yeah, I've been delving into human design, and as you guys already know, and what human design recognizes is that 50% of the population, I think it's 50% of the population are emotional decision makers, which means that 50% of the population, that is half of the population, have emotional waves. Either 1, 2, or 3 different emotional waves. I am an emotional decision maker, and I have, now that I've been in the human design experiment for a couple of months, I definitely started to see the patterns and see how I can use my emotional wave to work more sustainably, live more sustainably, really capitalize on those high moments and really nurture myself in those low moments. So basically, an emotional wave takes you all the way up, all the way down, all the way up, all the way down. And depending on what it is that you're having an emotional wave about, obviously you have one going through life, but in terms of decision making, everyone has that information that they're given, which requires them to make a decision with. And eventually the emotional wave for that decision will even out. So you're going all the way up, all the way down, and then the ups and downs get less intense and they kind of even out, and then that's when you should make the decision. So that's your emotional authority, and half of the population have an emotional authority. So if half of the population are experiencing this intensive, it's not even intense all the time, but it is like a pretty big thing. If half of the population are experiencing this emotional wave, then why have we made it taboo to talk about emotions or to feel emotions or to cry in public or to scream or dance like when you're super happy or ecstatic? Like, why is that so weird? I just don't understand it. And I think that it's such a bad thing to be like on this one level all of the time. It's just so, it's degrading to everyone, I think, because you're not like really allowing yourself to tap into those highs and tap into those lows. When you're on those highs, that is when you like get your momentum, your inspiration, your motivation. Like that's when that really is so powerful, and you can get so much done if you're really feeling that within yourself and like allowing yourself to express it. And when you're in those lows, like, I don't know if you guys know this, but most songwriters and artistic people, artists, dance choreographers, musicians, basically, yeah, like anyone who's in a creative field, their best work usually comes from when they're in their lowest moments. And the reason that they can create such magic from that place is because it's so raw. They've allowed themselves to tap into that. And I'm still obviously experimenting with this, and I think that it's really interesting just noticing my emotional wave, because I think that when I'm really low, like it's so easy to get stuck in that place. And when you're aware that the emotional wave is like an up and down, you kind of, it removes this pressure to be on all the time, because you know that when you're down, you know that you're going to come up again. Whereas if you've been told your whole life that you have to stay at this one stable place emotionally, and when you're down, you feel like you're going to stay there forever, because you literally just have no concept that the wave is going to go up and down. So it can be quite scary, quite like, I don't know, that's, you know, where a lot of people get mental illness, when they get stuck in that low wave. And I've struggled with mental health issues for, I'm going to say forever, like off and on forever, since I can remember. And I talk very openly about this, and I have been doing that for about 5 years now, because I think it's really important that we acknowledge that it is real. But I think also the thing with emotional people is that we get in that low state and we get scared that we're going to get stuck there, that we're going to get stuck in a depression, and we're going to get, we're just going to go back into that mental illness state, which is really, it's really scary, because you know what the lowest lows like can bring. But when you are actually tapping into that and using it to express yourself and really like feel into those emotions and let them out, then you're actually allowing that energy flow to move rather than to become stagnant in that place. And I've found in my experiment that you come out of the low so much easier than if you're trying to like bring yourself out. Because when you're trying to bring yourself out, you're actually like forcing it. You're forcing all of the energy to be up, and it's not what you're supposed to be doing at that moment, because you have an emotional wave. And if you're being true to your emotional wave, you're supposed to flow with it and use it. So I don't know, this is just going to be a super short podcast episode today. I don't know if that makes sense. That is my current outlook on it. I'm sure it'll change over time as I'm in the human design experiment a little bit longer. But I also just feel like as a society, if we normalize emotion and we allow ourselves to really bring it up and out of our bodies and like express ourselves more freely, I think that like we will work better, society will work better, and there'll be so much more acceptance of each other and self-acceptance as well, which I think is what our society is lacking. I think that everyone's just trying so hard to be like, to get to the next thing without acknowledging how amazing they are and accepting like how amazing we are individually in each moment. Even in our lowest lows, we are like all unique beings, and we've been put here for a reason. So I hope that helps someone who needed to hear that. I feel like there is someone out there if that's you, let me know. I've also done a more in-depth podcast episode on this. I think it's in about the first 10 or maybe in the first 15 episodes. It's about releasing emotion and allowing it to flow. I will leave that link in the description of either the podcast or YouTube video, wherever you're watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. As always, if you haven't followed me on social media, I will link that in the description as well. And if you're listening on the podcast, come and jump over to my YouTube channel, where I have been doing daily vlogs up until recently, and I plan to start that again tomorrow. So I would love to have you guys as my audience. I talk about health, wellness, spirituality, and personal growth and development, and also more human design because I'm obsessed. So I'll see you guys next week. Bye. And YouTube channel, thanks for tuning in. If you haven't listened to my other podcast episodes, go and check it out on the homepage of my website. The link's in the description. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.